We'll just wait for a few people to get on.
It'd be all right if nobody comes on.
Steve Knowles is on. Good evening, Stephen.
Well, he's not typed yet, so I'm safe at the minute.
Wait for a few people to get on. Evening, Mark.
Evening, Mark. Thanks for that. Evening, Janet.
Right, we're getting a few. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next live stream on the Bolton Marathon page. So this is week 2 of our month of content that we're trying to put out daily, and yeah, it's the start of the week, the second week. So as we tick along, you know, we get closer to the end of lockdown and a bit more normality, but you also get some great content along the way. So without further ado, welcome tonight to Mr. Alan Dunn. And some of you may have seen over the last sort of few days, Alan absolutely smashed and completed his massive challenge of 10 in 10 marathons. So 10 marathons in 10 days, all for 2 great charities and raising lots of money. So welcome tonight, Alan, and thanks for joining Bolton Marathon Live.
Yeah, thanks, Gaz. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Just still recovering a bit, really. Not as bad as I thought, but it's all right. All good. All good.
Good. And obviously a big shout out as well to Marc Clough, who did the 10 marathons with you, you know, and absolutely smashed it along the days himself, you know, and put his body through the same torture and pain that you did. And he's obviously raised a few quid for the charities as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. He were a great support. We started off together. We might not have finished some of them together, but we both went through the same pain. And I've seen his ankle, and he done well to get through it, to be fair.
Yeah, what day was that? What day did he hurt his ankle?
It was about days 7 or 8, I think. Twisted it, and he had to strap it up, but he got through it like a trooper. Good man he is.
And it's a testament to both of you in terms of, you know, you've said we've just had a brief chat before we went live around the course and what it's about. And I think, you know, you've both kind of gone through the ups and downs, literally, of the hills on that course, you know, for the 10 days. So, you know, I think you both entered the history books in terms of Bolton Marathon, you know, in terms of, you know, understanding that course, probably the same or as much as Richard, the race director.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got to say, Richard, you put one hell of a course together there, and my advice is just plan. Whoever's going to do that race, plan it, because it is a tough course and not to be underestimated. When he says it's a proper marathon, believe me, it is a proper marathon. Nice one, Richard.
He was proud of the comment you made on Sunday when I saw you at the finish line, where you said, yeah, he's put a proper course together, you know, and I think you used a bit of an expletive of it was a bit sadistic something or other, but I think he was proud of that, I think, when I messaged him.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a proper one. I can give you that, definitely. Definitely.
So in terms of, you know, me and you have known each other a long time, you know, number of years, and we trained together. Well, I say trained together. You're usually like a mile ahead of me as I'm running with you and steering others. We've run again, but to give people kind of a bit of a background to you and where you started your running career from, and you know, because you can't just turn up and run 10 marathons in 10 days without a bit of training and a bit of preparation.
No. Well, I used to do a bit of cross country at school, but when I was 16, that was it. I quit. Beer, women, the usual. But when I got to my 30s, I played a bit of football, and then one of the lads wanted me to do a tough mudder. And basically, from nothing, I did a tough mudder, and then I said to him, I'll run 4 marathons for you, local ones, for a charity for his lad, because his lad had Duchenne's disease. So I did the 4 marathons, and it just took off from there then. Basically from a tough mudder to 4 marathons, and then it just stemmed from then, Ironman, and then culminating in this 10 in 10. But it's a gradual process. You can't, like you've just said, you can't just dive into it. It's impossible. So it's power walking first for me, round block. That's all I did, just power walked a mile, just get the lungs going and the legs for a couple of weeks, and then pushed on into a jog, and then pushed on again. And then I took bits of advice off different people.
Yeah, and then you've ended up being the local legend.
Well, yeah. I have just a 10-10. I was never a legend before.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me when you was halfway through it and was following your progress, was the big thing for me was, during the week you were getting up on a Tuesday and a Wednesday on your own, with you probably supporting you along the way, and getting out there in some crazy weather as well. What kind of what do you use to spur you on in terms of that time when you get out of bed, you look out the window and you go, wow, that's pretty wild, that weather, and I've got this marathon to do.
Well, the first thing in my head was my charities. That was something that kept me going. And there's somebody at work, I won't name him, but he's somebody that if you fail at anything, even if it's a misfortune or something, he will take the mick, literally. So he's in the back of my head all the time. And I always think that if I fail or I don't do it, I know I'm going to get some stick. So I use that, me. Other people can use other things to focus, but it was just them two, my charities, and his little voice in my head. But I mean, the first 4 days, wow, it was the rain, constant rain, and it was hot, it was awful.
Yeah.
But when the rain broke, it did make it a bit easier. But I have to say, Jude, my missus, she was great, because when she wasn't working, she'd come with me to the start, wave us off, then she'd get the bus home, come and meet us part way round. She put everything into it, the support, when she wasn't working, and that kept me going as well. And the support of all my team, the supporters, everybody, it was just amazing.
Yeah. And that's a key thing, isn't it? Within anything. So we've both gone through, over the past few years, marathons, Ironman. You've done hell of a hill. You did the 5 days. I did the 1 day. It's about that support network, isn't it? And without that, it's impossible. Because you've got so many things to balance, and it's hard. And you're a postman as well, so you've got quite a physical job in terms of being on your feet, on the go all day. It's essential that you get that support network. Your dues are good, and your family are good ones as well.
To be honest, I think, half the battle is getting the support. Once you've got the support to shout you on and cheer you on, it's massive. It's a massive lift. You can't. I'll be honest, I would have struggled without the support. I mean, like when I did Hell of a Hill last year, I did all 5, and I was as nervous can be, because I'd never done anything like that before. And I knew one of the people that ran it, and she said to me, like, just chill, relax, just get through the first day. And on the course, you have people clapping, shouting, cheering, and it just gives you that lift. And it sounds crazy, but it actually gets easier. The further you go, with the support you've got, it does actually get easier. And I proved that in Hell of a Hill when I finished 2nd overall. Smashed it. And that was because partly through the support, I've got to say, there were people running with me, cycling at side, cheering. It was fantastic, and that's what I'd say to anybody: get some support.
I think that's key, isn't it? That support on the day. I think that's what makes your achievement, Marc's achievement, even bigger in terms of that 10 in 10 days. Was, you know, there's days where, you know, everyone was at work or whatever, and you probably were running just literally on your own for quite a lot of the course. You know, I know a few people took time off, but how do you get over that?
Well, the two worst days for me was day 6 and day 7, because there were nobody with me. I run them both on my own, and there is a stretch of it that, I mean, my mates know, I've told them, yourself, there's a stretch from the end of Leaving Park to Little Lever, and I don't like that bit at all. It just seems lonely, and
Yeah.
I just think to myself, in a target, Crompton Lodges. So I always put a target in my head to aim at when I won that long and windy road, and that got me through. Once I hit the target, you push on then. But I must say, you do need support, definitely.
Yeah, is that how you break it down? You break the course down into sections. Is that something you do?
Yeah, I completely broke it down. If I was doing that as a standalone marathon, I would run it all, even the hills. But with doing 10 in a 10, I come up with a plan, and I just thought of it as laps. I didn't think of it as 10 marathons. I thought it was 10 laps of a route. So day 1 was 1 lap, and I counted down. And each day I had a certain point to aim at. So my first point from the start was Beaumont Road. I just chilled between 9 and 10 minute miles, just gentle. Once I got to Beaumont, that's when I pushed on, and my next target was top of Claypool. And then once you get through Claypool, I ran that. So once I got through Claypool, my next target was Smithills. And you just come up with these little things in your head. I never ever think miles, because if you do, it can mess with your head a bit.
Yeah.
So I didn't think miles.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because that's how, you know, when I've coached for triathlon and people say from an Ironman perspective, how do you break it down? You know, it's a massive distance, and I have always said, well, it's 2 laps of a swim, it's 2 or 3 laps of a bike, and maybe 4 laps of a run, and you tick it off, don't you, in your mind? You know, you go, right, that's 1 part done, that's the 2nd part done, and it's. That's probably advice for any new runner or new long distance runner is to tick it off, isn't it, and just break it down into sections.
Like I said, I never think of miles. The one thing that I don't, if I was running a standalone marathon, so just say next week I had London Marathon, that messes with your head, because there's mile markers telling you how long you've ran. So you'll get to a mile, and it tells you run a mile. Then you run 2 miles. I don't want to know that. I don't, because you're thinking it's getting further and further away to 26. So I don't think of that. I just don't think of miles, because it can mess with your head. Like Hell of a Hill, I know I keep going back to that, but that was like over the 5 days, it was 25 loops. So once I'd done 1 loop, I only had 24 loops left. And I counted down like that.
Yeah,
but it works.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way of doing it, and you get those small victories all along the way, don't you? You go, yes, that's another one done.
Yeah, you can tick them off in your head as you go along, and then once you've got to 20, you know you've done day 1. So, you know, and then when you get to 15, that's day 2 done. So it's just counting down, and you get a little target in your head, and it gives you that boost as well.
Yeah, definitely. So Janet Gibson Iron Mum's asked, how do you prepare yourself mentally for it, Alan?
Oh, well, I just shut off, if I'm honest. I shut off. I draw a plan up, and then I fix that plan in my head, and I stick to that plan, regardless whether it's going good or bad. But mentally, it's just like I said, don't count the miles, and have little tricks in your head, little things like that. The weather shouldn't be a problem if you've trained in it. So mental wise, that shouldn't really be an issue if you've trained in them kind of weathers. Once race day comes, you should be all right. But mentally, it's about drawing a plan up, sticking to that plan, and keeping it in your head. But that's really about it.
That's good. So what would you say from a marathon plan perspective? You know, what would you advise people to start with? Because you say when you're coaching, you know, you increase the distance 10%, you know, each week. You don't overstretch yourself. But I think for the Bolton Marathon, what's the one piece of training advice you give people?
Don't get it in your head that when you train, you have to do the distance on a training run. I never did. I only ran 4 times a week. I had 3 midweek runs, and each one of them runs was between 8 mile and 11 mile. And then my 4th one was always a Sunday morning, and that one, the furthest I ever ran, was 22 mile. You don't have to run the full distance in any one run whilst training, because if you put the miles in through the months, then it's in your legs anyway. So once you get to 22 mile on a marathon, you've only 4 left. You know, and so that's my biggest tip. Never think that you have to do the full distance in a training run. You don't.
Yeah.
I never did.
And that's the key, isn't it? You can overcomplicate it and overthink it, you know, and you can look at what is supposedly the norm of upping the distance, running the total distance. You know, for me, you know, you might agree, you know, the same. You know, you just said, you know, I've never ran 26 miles in training. No. I've only ever gone to 20, because then I never know what that last 6 miles feels like until the day. And at that point, it's too late to do anything but carry on, you know. And because you do get to a point where, you know, it will take its toll on you, and you will start to feel it, you know. But I think if you're on the course, pushing yourself with the crowd, you're likely to either walk and run that last 6 miles if it's hard, as opposed to feeling that pain before the race and knowing what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, one example is, if you was to go out tomorrow on a training run and attempt the full distance, 26 mile, just say you was out on your own and you, at 24 mile, your calf went, or you run out of water, or you hit a problem, then I think that once you get to the real marathon, race day, that what went wrong is still in your head. You could, some people might still beat them up in the head. Oh, I've done that and something went wrong, and you see, so you don't have to. But another big tip I would give is, and I used to be guilty of it, is when I ran my training runs, I used to think, right, I've got to get 5 or 6 runs in this week. I must do. And if I never went out for one of them, I would destroy. I would guilty. But if your body's telling you you're tired, have a day off. Don't feel guilty. You know, if my body feels tired now, and I'm supposed to go out on a run tomorrow, and I feel tired or I feel a tweak, I just don't run. I run the day after, and I feel better for it because I'm a bit fresher. Because I always think if you're running on tired legs or tired limbs, you're always prone to picking up injuries. You see, so that's another one. I just never feel guilty about having just one day off, if so be it.
Yeah. Get to some more questions. So, David Wallace, good evening, Mr. Wallace. 5 and 5, 10 and 10. What's next? Any plans for any more daft challenges?
Cheers, Dave. Do you know, so I knew somebody asked me this. No, next year I've got a busiest year because I've got Bolton Marathon again. I've got Ironman, which is a biggie, and I've also got Manchester Marathon. So I don't know. The year after I have one or two ideas in my head, but
yeah, I know. Mr. Knowles has mentioned a couple of things that he's tempting me with. So he probably mentioned the same to you, maybe. But we'll see.
Yeah, there is one idea in my head, but actually I was going to do it instead of the 10 in 10. My first idea, but I thought no, I'll do the 10 in 10 instead. But yeah, there's something, but I don't want to say too much just yet. I'm not too sure, you see. But next year it's Ironman. That's the big one, and the 2 marathons.
Marc Clough, good evening, Mr. Marc Clough. He said, which is the hardest, 10 in 10, or would you say doing 2 hell of a hills, or 2 5 and 5s?
Ooh,
I think he's asking for permission there to do a crazy challenge himself.
You mean doubling up hell of a hill?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. If I'm honest, I honestly think the one we've just done is a bit tougher than hell of a hill. And I only say that because hell of a hill, you would be walking a hell of a lot more, so you're reserving a lot more energy, because obviously each day you go on hell of a hill, you go up to the five times per day, 5 laps up that. You're not running that every day 5 times. So you've got a lot of walking points where you can reserve energy and then use it up on other parts of the course. Whereas the Bolton Marathon, it's relentless on the roads. It's just relentless, up, down, up, down, up, down. It doesn't really give you so much of a break. You've got a couple of good downs, but not too many. But I think I would say that the one we've just done is tougher. Slightly.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think definitely just for Claypool and, like you say, that stretch from Lever Room down to through Little Lever and, up Moses Gate and then up Plodder Lane. And then you've got the drag up to Dean and back down to Bolton. It is a good course. It really is. Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, Claypool, it is what it is. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, Claypool. I recommend anybody to just go and try it. If you've never run it, just go and give it a go, but gently does it. But I think it's a mixture, because you've got some couple of lonely places on it. You've got some brutal hills on it, and there's a couple of decent downs, but not many. And it's all up. I mean, there's no Plodder Lane in it, and you go up Harrowby Street now and Highfield Road, and I'll be honest, I think that is slightly worse than Plodder Lane, because there's no let up on that. It's just a gradual up and up, and then when you get into the top, it just goes again.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. It's just a matter of gritting your teeth on there and get through it.
That's it, isn't it? And at that point, you know that you're not far from home, and that's it, and achieving it. So the next question we've got. So Tracy Berry, good evening, Tracy. So you do any other training such as CrossFit, and you obviously do your cycling and swimming through training for Ironman. But there's been a lot of talk, especially with lockdown, about the benefits of doing strength training. And I know from my point of view, I've started to do a lot of strength training, with personal trainers and stuff. Do you do any like the weight-based stuff?
To be honest, I don't know. I'll be honestly and truthfully, all I do is I do a bit of swimming. I mean, I've not swum this year because of the leisure centres, obviously with COVID being shut, and I've not really swam this year proper. But normally I would swim twice a week, do about half a mile to a mile and a half each swim. Just depends how I'm feeling. And I cycle. I cycle to work 2 or 3 times a week, which is, it's 7 miles, so it's like a 14-mile round trip. Cycle to work and cycle home. Just a couple, 2 or 3 times a week, but gently does it. Nothing strenuous. And then it's mainly running. But I don't do any strength work, nothing at all. I don't do any of that.
No.
I'm always wary of causing myself injuries because I'm no bodybuilder. So I always think if I start lifting weights, I'll get injured, or I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to put weights on because that'll impact on my running then. I like being dropping down a bit of weight, but that's just personal preference, that.
You know what works for you, don't you?
Yeah. What works for me won't necessarily work for other people. You know, but I've just, over the years, I've took different bits from different people and put it all together to suit me. And it works. It works.
It definitely does work. I mean, like when you cross that bridge on Sunday, and literally a minute later you were back. Your recovery was instant. You know, it's phenomenal the way that you can run consistently the pace that you run for that number of days. You sent me your Strava, and each day was bang on, probably between 3 hours 48 to 3 hours 49, and then you PB'd on the last day. It's unbelievable the deep kind of energy and fitness that you've got. It's great to see.
It's such a matter of getting into a groove and teaching your body, and that all comes from the training, and that's what I say about you don't have to overdo it, because when it come race week or race day, you're fresher. I never run. My last run is always 4 days. I like doing a 6 to 8 mile run 4 days before my event, and then that's it. Then I don't do anything for 4 days, and then I crack on. But if you treat the first 2 miles as really to my gentle pace is 9 to 10 minute miles, as you know, other people that might be too fast for them, so they can slow down again. You treat your first 2 as a recovery. Once you get into it, you're warmed up, your legs are going, the heart's pumping, and then you can push on, and that's how it works. And then there's certain points on the course where you can conserve energy and then use it for later on in the race.
I bring you on to that little bottle that you carry. With throughout every run that you do, you always have that little bottle. What's in your bottle to keep you fueled through your runs?
Well, as you know, and all my friends know, I always run, don't matter how small or how big my run is, I have a bottle, and it's like a baby's done it to me, that. But in it, I use this Tailwind. And what that is, I have a 750ml bottle, and I put 2.5 scoops of that in, and then fill it with water, shake it up, and I use that on my marathons. And I'll be honest, my performance has gone way through the roof when I've used it, because you don't feel hungry on it. When you use that, for whatever reason, it doesn't make me feel sick. It don't make me want to go to the toilet. It don't give you gut bombs. You don't get any of that, because of what that does. It's just replacing all the salts and everything else that you're losing through your sweat and what have you. That puts it back in during the race, and you just sip it. You don't gulp it, just sip it. And a 750ml bottle can last me till about 21, 22 miles, and then for the last 3 or 4 miles, I like just plain water then, just for a different taste. This tailwind that I've got here, it's mandarin orange flavour. They do other flavours, but that's just my preference. But that to me is liquid gold. That stuff.
No, it's good. I use it myself, and that's the bit I challenge when people are training for a long distance. You know, it's what works for you, isn't it? And you know, you'll have been through it, and I've been through it, where you know you trial different gels, you know, and they work in training. Then you consume them on race day, and you know it over loads your body, and before you know it, you've got stomach cramps, stomach whirring, you're on toilet or whatever. So you've got to make sure that nutrition works for you. And I agree. In terms of the tailwind, it's natural ingredients. It's light on the stomach, isn't it? And I'm the same as you. I don't use anything else.
It's amazing stuff. You don't feel as hungry for whatever reason. I don't know why, but you don't need to eat loads on. I mean, I don't believe in gels. I've tried gels and they just went straight into my stomach. And the first thing I do when I have a gel is I need toilet, and that's no good on a race. So I had to cook with something else. And like on race day, I carry little Mars bars, a couple of protein bars, and flapjacks. I use these flapjacks. That's it. Little ones. They're small enough. They won't overface you, so they're just a nice size for getting in, and they'll give you that energy boost that you need. And on Bolton, there were about 4 places where I would stop, have a couple of walks up the hill, but while I was power walking the hill, that's when I get my nutrition in, because trying to run and eat at the same time isn't the easiest. So you power walk and take one of them, and then get to your next target, and then. But it's there again. It's up to the individual. But flapjacks on a run, brilliant for me. They work a treat.
Linda Harden's asking, what do you carry your bottle in? Every time I've seen you, it's in your hands. With you just run with it in your hand, like say, it looks like a dummy. Yeah,
it is. Do you want me to go and get it, and I can show you? I won't be 1 minute.
Yeah, go on now.
So I use that. That's it. I carry that 750ml, so it just fits on your hand like that. And so I run with it in my hand. And that I've always got it. Pardon?
It's a signature of your runs. Like if you haven't got that, then there's trouble. It's definitely your signature thing. And I suppose with that bottle, with the tailwind, with it being soluble, you could put 4 scoops in, 5 scoops. It depends on people's preference. You could put, so each scoop's 100 calories, isn't it? You could put whatever you wanted into that, and it'd fuel you.
Yeah, I mean, in the autumn and winter, it's 2.5 scoops. If you're in the summer, then I would put an extra half in or an extra scoop in. That's all. Nothing more than that, because it goes, for me personally, it just goes too thick and gloopy, and I don't like that. So 2.5 autumn and winter, it's perfect. An extra half or an extra 1 scoop in the summer months, perfect. And you'll get by with that. It lasts, because you've got to sip it. You never go, just sip it slowly, and it works.
So Anna knows, what's the worst hill on the course and why?
Oh, well, it's got to be Claypool. Claypool is the worst. But you're lucky that it's only 6 miles in. So I ran Claypool every day because it was early and I wanted to get it out of the way. But the reason I say it's the toughest is because you start off on it and it's all right. Then it goes pretty steep, and then it flattens off slightly, goes round the bend, and you think, oh, I've cracked it. But then it goes again, even more so. You get to the church and it flattens, and then you think, oh, well, I've done it again. But you haven't, because it goes again. So it just messes with your mind. So you've got to like do it gently. Don't go hell for leather up that. You've got to start gentle and keep to that steady pace going up. If Hardy Mill Road is a tough one, but that is really because of where it is in the race. It's about 15 miles in, so that is another tough one. But yeah, I'd say Claypool, because it's such a long one and it just messes with your head.
Yeah. You reckon the course will be slightly easier on race day with being able to run on the actual roads? The other night I went out and I did a run, and I've noticed that a lot of the pavements are so uneven that I managed to get on the road for quite a good part of my run, and it made such a difference just mentally to just be able to run on that tarmac.
Yeah, spot on that, Gav. I think it will be slightly easier on the road, but believe me, it won't be that much easier.
No.
But I know where you're coming from with the pavements, because there are some, especially at this time of year with the leaves dropping and that, there are some places which are pretty slippy. But obviously in May, you're not going to have that problem. But I think what you're saying is right, because I'll give you Smethurst Lane, for example. If you run on the pavement at Smethurst Lane, it's a hell of a lot steeper than if you actually run on the road of Smethurst Lane. So you've got kind of like two separate elevations on one road, if you understand what I mean. Yeah. So when you run on the road on Smethurst Lane, it won't hurt as much as you will do on the pavement. But that's just my opinion anyway. But I mean, yeah, you're right there. The roads will be slightly better. But yeah, I mean, the first one, you're forever watching your feet. What's loose cracks or pavements, any broken paving stones or anything. But after that, I could have run it blindfolded and knew where I was going, so I couldn't get injured then. But yeah, I would say you're right there. About the road.
No, it all just makes a difference sometimes mentally. Not having to go over raised tree routes and all the other bits, doesn't it? It just makes that little bit of difference. Mark Nixon, how long from the top? How long to the top of Claypool? I think he's saying.
How long?
Because he has a hill near. How long would it take to get to the top of Claypool? Because he's got a hill near him that might be good to practice on.
How long from the top of bottom is Claypool? Oh, it's about. I'd say it's about 3/4 of a mile. I think you hit Claypool at about 6.1 or 6.2 mile, and when you get to the top of Claypool, it's exactly 7 mile. So the top of Claypool is the 7 mile mark. So yeah, I think it's about 3/4 of a mile long, Claypool, from where you actually start it, because you don't actually start Claypool from the very bottom. You run around the back of the beehive, go past Claypool School, I think it is, and then you hit Claypool. So it's roughly about 3/4 of a mile going up.
And to answer Laura Diggle, is Tailwind like a juice or a milkshake? It's a juice, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a powder actually.
Yeah.
So you put your 2.5 scoops of powder into your bottle. I use I bought a little funnel. So I put the funnel in the end, and then I pour the powder in, and then I just put my water in and shake it up. So it's still a liquid,
yeah.
But Tailwind actually is a powder.
Yeah. And in terms of each scoop's 100 calories. You get your salts, your sugars, your electrolytes, all within that scoop. So essentially, what you've got to do is work out your what you're going to need over an hour, and put the number of scoops in your bottle. So if you're going out for a run for an hour, you're not going to need you need that. But over a 3-hour run, you might probably want 300 calories.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and any run I do less than 7 mile, I don't use tailwind. I just use water, because you're not going to get any benefit really. Well, I don't, because I'm a bit quicker and I'm not running for that long. Anything over 7 mile, then I'll always use tailwind. But I never, technically wise, I'm not really like where you're saying it's 100 calories or whatever. I'm not really into all that technically. So the only way I sussed it out was personal preference again, by taste, because I found that putting too many scoops in, it was just too thick and gloopy and it didn't taste very nice. So just brought the doses down to what suited me, tried it on some longer runs, and it worked. Because I'm not into technicalities like that. You'll know, like yourself, like zone threes and all. It's been a running joke.
We've talked about that at length in the past, haven't we? You know, we both runners who run on feel and run on on how we feel. You know, if you feel good, you run a bit quicker. If you don't feel so good, you run a bit slower. And it's different things for everybody. But I think if you overcomplicate things, then that's when it starts to go wrong for you, really, isn't it? It's about keeping it simple, enjoying it, and achieving your goals, but not being too down if you don't. It's a case of it's a hobby. We're not Mo Farah, are we?
No. Well, I'm not there yet, but I might be one day.
Yeah. Well, you're not far behind him.
No. Well, I just run on feel, like you said. I run on feel. I'm not into technicalities and all the rest of it. I just run. I mean, in my training runs, what I've started doing, which I never used to do, but I've just started doing. Say I'm going for a 6 mile run. My 3rd mile in, I'll really push my body to the limit and see what I can do. And then in the 4th mile, I'll relax again. And then I'll always put in the 6th mile a bit of a downhill and really go for it again and do a couple of intervals within that run. And I've got to say, I'm feeling a bit stronger with it. There might be one day where I'll just go out for a 3 mile run on its own and really push myself for the full 3 mile and leave it at that. So it's about mixing it up as well.
Yeah, definitely. You prefer running on your own, or you prefer running in a group? I mean, I know I'm quite an antisocial runner, but it's purely so I can get my head down and get on with it.
I must admit, I do like running on my own. I do, but I don't mind running with other people. I mean, Steve runs with me. A couple from my team, Dean, they run with me. And I will go Monday nights now that I've finished this, just for my recovery runs on a Monday. But essentially, yeah, I like a run on my own. But the problem I have is I am a bit faster than quite a few. I'm not the quickest, but I am faster than some of my friends. I think
you are fast.
Yeah, but I don't like somebody coming with me and then me running off and leaving them. I don't like doing that. So there's times where I want to go out on my own so I can push myself, but then there's other times where I don't mind running with other people, just for scale me in a bit, rein me in a bit and have a bit of company and a chat and just do that.
Yeah. Exactly. So you're on the start line for Bolton, the marathon in May. Do you reckon you could psychologically get people, psyched out to win it?
I can't win that. No chance. No chance. I know that no way am I going to win that. I'm too old for one, and there's some proper racing snakes in Bolton, so there's no way. I'm just going to. I am running it, obviously, but in my head, I think I might try and go for a sub 3:30, which on that course it will be hard. That it will be tough. I mean, I've done London in 3 hours 27. That hasn't got any hills. I've done Manchester Marathon in 3 hours 22, and that's as flat as a pancake, as most people have done it know. So I think that made me a target, not to win anything, but just personally, I'd like to do it under 3:30 if I could, and that will be pushing it on that course.
Definitely,
it will.
Definitely. But you said that about hell of a hill. Just to enjoy it and taking the sights, and you finish second overall. So there's chance. I'd put a bit of money on you being up there, to be honest.
No, definitely not. I could name a few now who are way beyond me. But no, I just personal target. I see that's another thing I would say to people. When you stood on that start line and you've got a target in your mind, if somebody runs past you and goes hell for leather at the start, don't try chasing them and think, oh my God, he's going to beat me, because you'll just burn out. So just run it at your own pace and have your own targets. Don't get sucked in with the adrenaline of trying to catch somebody else. You'd be surprised if you keep it gentle early on, what energy you'll save for later on. And that's another thing that I've learned. I used to do one of these years ago where I used to think, oh, I've got to catch him. I'm going to be well behind here. What am I doing? And no, you used to blow up. So I've stopped doing that. But that's another piece of advice I would say. Just have your own target and stick to that.
I think it's with the year we've had with sport being the way it's been, I think next year we get to that May time. I think the Bolton Marathon is going to be the start of it's the start of my year of events. It's going to be a great event, I think, and I can't wait myself to get on that start line and get on that course. As tough as it'll be, it will be the first of 30 years of history coming back, and I think it's important that we as a town embrace that. I think it's going to be a great event, and I think we're all jumping at the bit to get on it.
Just enjoy it. I would say to anybody that's doing it, just enjoy it. Turn up and enjoy it, and there'll be loads of support out on the day, without a doubt there will.
Definitely.
And just enjoy it, and recover well, because if you don't recover in between your training runs, or if you've got a multiple day event like I've just had, if you don't recover well, then you're going to struggle. So recovery is another big part of everything.
Good stuff. And have we got any more questions for Alan? Because I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up shortly. Get your questions in now for Alan. If you've got that burning question of, I want to ask this, then ask it now. Linda Harmon said she runs Smethurst a lot. I haven't thought that it would be a bit easier on the road, one positive. Definitely, Linda. Take a positive and use it. So next time you're on Smethurst and you're feeling it, just go, no, I can do this. Because you'll smash it on the day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you only have to think, don't you, when you're, just say you're walking or running on the pavement at Smethurst, you're up there, you're looking down on the cars.
On the road, yeah, it makes sense.
So when you think about it, logically, there's not as much elevation there on the road as what there is on the pavement.
There you go.
You've got to take little things like this as a positive, and this is where you think mental-wise. If you can try and put them in, mentally, that's another thing that helps you. You've got to think of these little positives along the way.
Of course. Of course. Right, well, I think that brings us to a close. So the last thing to say to you is again, massive well done, Alan, on the challenge. Massive well done on raising the money and for the two charities. And the same to Clough, Marc Clough, a huge achievement. I think I think I planted the seed there that he's looking at 2 hell of a hills, and I reckon he'll be scoping that out later on. Because I think he's into looking at his next massive challenge. So yeah, but massive kudos, and thanks for joining us on here and giving a bit of advice and a bit of insight into your slant on running. I think from my point of view, you're a humble guy, you're a normal running guy. You've got a job, got a family, but you've got that pace to be able to run at pace. And if you can get to, and you will get to that 3:30, no doubt. I reckon you'll be able to run that marathon in 3:30. It'd be a great achievement, I think. Yeah. So, thanks for tonight, and thanks for joining us, guys. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks very much. Cheers, guys. Nice one for that. Just want to say thanks to everybody.